Welcome to A Christian in the World of Texts, where commitment to Christian orthodoxy meets open, serious scholarship. Here we explore the Bible, literary art, and world literature with curiosity, depth, and passion. Atheists and secular thinkers often accuse Christians of living in an imaginary world because we live by faith. But the real question is this: do secular people live without interpretation, without myth, without faith of their own? One of the most influential defenders of the modern atheistic worldview is Yuval Noah Harari, whose best-selling books have shaped the imagination of millions of readers around the world. Professor Kramer describes Harari's position as the standard scientific picture of a universe that appeared by itself. He says, this scientific picture is accompanied by a philosophical a priori, namely that the universe came to exist without any cause or agent. For Harari, it is axiomatic that a personal God or the gods do not exist as metaphysical entities. But this supposedly scientific picture is not merely science. It is also a philosophical assumption, namely that the universe exists without any divine cause, purpose, or creator. In other words, secularism also begins with faith commitments. The modern secular imagination still clings to the belief that scientific facts alone can produce meaning and truth. But modern hermeneutics, from Martin Heidegger to Hans-Georg Gadamer and Paul Ricoeur, has shown that human beings never encountered pure facts. We always interpret reality through larger frameworks of meaning. As Jens Zimmerman writes, we have to dispel the illusion that scientists drop any theory about physics, astronomy, biology, or any other scientific subject that is not fully verifiable. The fact is that no paradigm manages to offer a total explanation of the world. Let us not forget that one of the main inspirations of the astronomer Galileo was his belief that the Bible and nature were two books by the same author, God, and thus could not ultimately contradict each other. Thus, if science showed the Earth to orbit the Sun, there must be a better theological reading of the Genesis account than the traditional geocentric one, championed by the current ecclesial establishment. What remains obscured by a still popular myth in scientific circles is that Galileo's proof for a heliocentric universe did not undermine Christianity. In fact, many Christian scientists and interested theologians were thrilled to discover that the Earth was not, as Aristotelian metaphysics had demanded, at the center of the universe, where all matter had to go due to its base corporality, while noble and spiritual things soared upward. Galileo had shown to the contrary that our planet was liberated from this shameful position and joined the dance of the stars. Zimmerman concludes that both in science and in theology facts are important, but what ultimately matters is the theory or world picture by which we integrate the individual parts of what we know into a meaningful whole. Even experimental verification by itself is no guarantee for arriving at the correct interpretation of reality. In a certain sense, agnostics are right when they say that human beings cannot possess absolute proof of realities beyond ordinary experience. But the difference between Christians and agnostics is this: agnostics choose suspension of belief, while Christians choose trust. The Apostle Paul says, I know whom I have believed. Notice that Paul joins knowledge and belief together. Christian faith is not mathematical certainty of laboratory proof. We are not knowers in the modern rationalistic sense. We are believers. We believe that the biblical vision of reality is true because it provides a meaningful and coherent explanation of existence, an explanation preserved and transmitted through generations of God's people for thousands of years. And the truth is that everyone lives by faith, in some total explanation of the world. The secular person also believes. They believe in materialism, progress, scientism, historical inevitability, or moral narratives inherited from modern culture. The real issue is not whether human beings live by faith. The real issue is which version of reality best explains human existence. Christians believe that the biblical world corresponds to reality because it explains human experience, evil and beauty, suffering and hope, guilt and redemption, morality and meaning. And believers recognize its truth not only intellectually, but existentially, through their own lives and encounters with God. Christianity, then, is not the rejection of reality. It is the decision to interpret reality through divine revelation rather than through the changing myths of modernity. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd be glad to hear them. Until next time, keep reading and exploring.